Hey friends, this is Abby with Abby's Musings, where I'm committed to providing you with doses of motivation and positivity through 90 seconds in the Word. Our verse of today comes from 2 Corinthians 10, verse 4, and it says, "The weapons that we fight with are not weapons of this world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds." Another version that you might have heard is, "The weapons of this warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God for the pulling down of strongholds." And what that is a reminder to you and I to stop beating up upon ourselves, right? We might be going through a tough time. We might be in a situation for one of three reasons. It could be the work of the enemy, because let's face it, when is he not at work? We truly have an enemy of the soul. And that's not to make excuses for our own actions and our own choices, but we have an enemy of the soul that never sleeps. We also have a God that never sleeps, so that should give you comfort. So number one, it could be the enemy, fighting and frustrating you every step of the way. Number two, we might be dealing with consequences of our own actions. Let's be real. Some situations we find ourselves in is as a result of our own actions, right? We talked about this before. We think God is taking too long. Somebody comes up with an idea that sounds, a little too good to be true, but we're tired of waiting, and we go down a path and we move away from a path of waiting on God. And we find ourselves in a bad situation, and sometimes even a worse situation. Or number three, God is taking us down a path or taking us on a journey because there's something in us that he's looking to transform. What we need to remember that throughout any of those scenarios, God is still sovereign and God is still supreme. So even when the enemy is trying to frustrate you, he still has to go through God to be able to do that. So you might say, well, why would God allow these things? Or why is God not stopping these things? And that's where at times we don't know, and we don't have all the answers. We do know from the promises of his word that while all things are not good, that he can work all things for our good. So I'm not suggesting that if you're having the worst year of your life, that God is somehow sitting back and smiling. I've been there. I've been when 1 month turned into 6 months, turned into a year, turned into 2 years. And I'm wondering if God is hearing me because I'm praying, I'm fasting, and I'm doing everything else, and it's seemingly nothing is changing. But of course, now in hindsight, when I look back and I reflect, God was working all along. But because he was not working in the way that I thought he should be working, or my eyes were so focused on my bank account that I wasn't seeing the fact that he was keeping me and sustaining me and feeding me and lights on for 2 years without steady employment. How does that happen? To have a mortgage company continue to work with me when I could not consistently keep it up for 2 years, right? Sounds crazy. I look back now and I think it was crazy. Never missed a meal. Lights never got turned off. Gas was still in the car. I might have had a refill every half a tank. But the point is, he was carrying me, but I was so focused on one thing, I couldn't see what he was doing all along. So if you find yourself in a situation, and I was there because my friends got SOS texts from me where I said, I just don't even know what to do anymore. It seems like when I try, nothing happens. When I don't try, nothing happens the same way. I just don't understand why nothing is moving. So here's what I'm going to recommend that you do. These are 3 things. Number 1, I want you to go deeper in your faith with God by fasting. I remember one time being in a season I was under so much stress. I had a back spasm that I could barely move. That's how tight the tension was in my body. And I fasted for 3 days. And in those 3 days, even though my situation didn't change right away, what it did, it gave me a peace in the midst of the situation. You hear people talking about having joy and peace despite what's going on. And you might look at them crazy and say, well, how is that even possible? I'm here to tell you it is possible. So try fasting. Number 2, make sure that you're going deeper in prayer with God, and make sure that you're being honest. Open yourself up to God. Ask him to reveal to you, are there areas of your life that maybe you're not being obedient to him in? Are there areas of your life that you have not fully surrendered to him? Ask him. He's a loving God. He's going to show you it's not his will that you suffer. He's not somehow sitting back and gloating. Right? Just ask him. So fast, go deeper and honest in your prayer with him. And number 3, continue to surround yourself by people who are going to lift you up, who are going to speak life to you, who are going to hold your hand in the season and say the right things to you. In the book of Job, he had friends that said everything contrary to what he needed to hear. So he was left just holding on to his own faith. Those are not the friends that you need in times of trouble. Look at your company. Look at who's around you. Who do you need maybe to just separate yourself from, even if it's from a season, until you're on the other side of this, because there is another side. And there is an other side, right? So we're going to stay encouraged, and we're going to walk, and we're going to know that these weapons that we fight with, the weapons that I described, are for the pulling down of strongholds. So let's continue to stay encouraged and to know that our breakthrough is coming. Hold on. We're not going to give up now. I'll talk to you soon, my friends.